Thanks for tuning in. This mower's been sitting for a long time. It belongs to a family member. And they basically got it with the house because the old owner didn't want to mess with it. We're going to address two things that happen on a vehicle if it sits for a long time. Number one, the battery fails, it sulfates, and so you got to replace the battery. We've already taken care of that. And now that the engine cranks over, we got to do the second thing that goes bad on these things, and that's the fuel goes bad. The carburetor gets full of varnish. When fuel is in around some kind of contamination or metal or brass or whatever it is, in tiny little ports it goes bad pretty fast, like about 3 months. So you let it sit for a year, and then those teeny little openings in the carburetor that meter or spray or jet the fuel, they get clogged off. So we need to drain the old fuel out of here. But when you tip it down, nothing's coming out. And the parking brake kind of holds it there. You can use a garden hose or whatever you want, but you just take it like this, put the other end in your mouth. Now you are the air compressor. Don't suck in, don't breathe in with the hose, but just take a deep breath first and blow. So once you do that, it'll get the fuel flowing, and then you just let it go. So all I'm doing is I'm pressurizing the tank so the pressure pushes on the fuel and just gets it to go through the line and out. I want to see it done with the air compressor. Like I say, you can do it with a hose. It's a real cheap, easy way to do it if you don't have a compressor. If you have a compressor, watch what you can do. So just give it just a little puff every so often. If I did it this hard with my mouth, I'd blow my ears out. But look how yellow and nasty that fuel is coming out. You don't want that going through your carburetor. So I'm going to have to take the carburetor bowl off and clean things out. And then we'll put some fresh fuel in. And that way I don't have a bunch of garbage coming from the tank into the freshly clean carburetor. Make sure to dispose of the old fuel properly. Another thing you can do, it's a cheap, easy solution, is get a little portable air tank for like 20 bucks, 30 bucks. Fill it up at the gas station or with your bicycle pump, and then you can run off of that too. I need a tool to fit this, and it's got to be a really skinny spanner. You can see that there's a nut on the bottom side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mic it like this. You can see that it's a 1/2 inch. So I need a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter spanner, but I need to make one that's really skinny. Here's one that's 13 millimeter. It's pretty skinny. If it doesn't work, it's about to. It's too thick, that's not going to work. I'll make it work. If you had a set of Matco tools or Snap-on or something like that, there's no way to do this. But if you pick up free tools, cheap tools, fit tools wherever you can find them like I do, this doesn't feel bad at all. And of course, I can't forget to cool it. Got that blue pearl kind of look to it, and it fits the purpose. So let's see how I did. Is it gonna fit in there? Just kind of free eyeballing it. I'll just say free balling it. Voila! It's like having a roadblock removed. There we go. Look how yellow it is. Even with such a low volume, you can still see it's just nasty. Yeah, it's even made in the USA. All the better to get away with it being thin. If you're a tool snob, you're not going to do this. If you're not a tool snob, it kind of creates opportunities for you. This is the carburetor bowl. You can see that usually takes about 2-3 years to get black stuff on the bottom. Looking at the carburetor, this here's the float, and it still kind of works or moves. But where this fuel was, that's pretty nasty. We'll try what we can. This tank's not the easiest one to pull. It's not the hardest, but this whole big deck is over the top, and then all of that tray's under the bottom, so I don't want to mess with that. I just want to suck out the contamination. When you look down in the tank, you can see there's all that contamination in there. So I just want to suck it up and be done with it like this. I don't want to have to mess with it, you know, with pulling the tank out and whatnot. Fortunately, this stuff breaks up pretty easy, but I just figured I'd show what I'm doing. So this is a 6 1/4 gallon oil extractor. So you hook your air compressor up to this barb. It blows out here, and then the needle winds back. I don't remember exactly what I paid. I'll put a link in the description, but for stuff like this, it's really nice to have. But yeah, you have to have a compressor. Yeah, not everybody's gonna have it, but man, some stuff's just nice to have. You don't have to worry about anything going through a motor or an electric whatever, because there isn't one. So it'll suck gas just fine. So here's our parts list. There's a bunch of chemicals that I use, B12 Chem Tool. I'll leave a link in the description for that. But I did a new elbow, I did all new fuel lines. This is the one that runs along the whole length of the frame. And there's a lot of grass under there because it was just packed in there. Did a bunch of zip ties to secure it. And when I went to run the new hose in there, I just took a 1/4" screw with a round head, and I used that to plow through all the grass and the garbage and stuff so that it wouldn't get contamination in the hose. The whole point was these hoses are falling apart. I mean, they're just, every last inch of it's just cracky and breaking and just a huge mess. So if it's like that on the outside, oftentimes you have contaminants going through the system on the inside, just like with power steering hoses. So new fuel filter, new fuel lines. Now we got a good mower. Of course I put a new battery in. So after painstakingly clearing all the debris out of the tank, getting every last little bit, come to find out it was on the cap. Doggone it. I should have got some footage, but this little abomination right here snapped. I don't know if it's made of nylon or plastic or what, but when process of getting the cracked, nasty, busted fuel lines off, it was also cracked and busted and nasty. So I couldn't get one through the parts place, and they say you got to buy a whole new carburetor for 120 bucks. And I was like, I got a solution for that. Here's how that went. So I went to the hardware store and I bought this. It's 1/4" barbed by like an 1/8 inch or something, and I drilled it out to 0.26 inches. I measured this, found a drill bit that measured the same, and sure enough it just fits right on there. So I can use some epoxy or I could use some solder. I'd really like to just solder it on there. But anyway, it's basically just what the brass portion of this is. If you compare them, just look down at it. So if I were to take off all the threaded section, it'd probably be about right, about the same. I just drilled in a little bit just to see if it would work. So if I was too far off or something was wrong, I'd learn on the part that I'm going to cut off. Step 1 complete. I did this in the vise. There's just terrible lighting there, so there's no point in even filming it. But next thing we're going to do is we're going to take it, put it in the vise grips, and then drill it out with that same bit that I had. When you solder brass, you want to use acid core. So you always use rosin core for your electronics. I dinked around with solder on this one. I'd heat it up until it was just real hot and then melt the solder right onto it. As you can see, it just sticks like crazy. So what you do is you heat the wort. That should be plenty hot enough. And then you just apply the solder to it. It'll melt on it. And if you do it right the first time and you get it real good and shiny like that, you're going to have a lot better result than if you have to reheat this again, because it'll be dull and it won't do as well. But if you want to cool it for whatever reason, this is what I did, just to make sure that I didn't spread the heat through the carburetor to different gaskets and seals. If the gaskets and seals get cooked, then it's no good saving the carburetor if I'm going to have to tear it out and redo it again. And like I tested before to make sure I had the right stuff. You can see that that's on there to stay. Awesome. Here's something fun. So I've got this sitting on the galvanized, and when I pulled the pliers out of it, I noticed it didn't move at all. So then I thought, well, that'd be funny if it soldered to the galvanized. Man, did it solder to the galvanized. That's actually pretty cool. I didn't know you could solder brass to galvanize like that. So I did the same thing on the tractor. I used a soda thing full of water, and I just hold my finger on the end. When it comes time to cool it, just let her rip. A little nervous about soldering and using a torch around something that's normally full of gas. So what I did is I just blew it with compressed air, just make sure everything is real good and clear. I had this thing in some vice grips. I torched it real good and hot. I torched the little barb real good and hot, and then I put the solder to that, and then I took the hot fitting and just shoved it on there. And then I took the torch and torched over the top of it, and then added some solder around the back side to see what happened. And boy, does it stick good. I don't know if it's going to be fuel tight or not, but we're about to find out. So where's my fire extinguisher? Right here handy. That's where I'm pretty confident this is going to be fine, but you just don't know. So it's got no fuel in it whatsoever. It should take a little while. Put it on choke. It's running pretty good. You can put it all the way to slow. I don't like the loping, but and that cost me $6. My alternative was to buy the whole new carburetor and wait a whole week and spend 120 bucks to boot. So I'm happy with the decisions that I made, and I think this will be great. Man, if I'd have known, I'd have just headed right to the hardware store to begin with. One other small item of business is I'm doing a giveaway on this channel for a radar detector. It's Escort Max 360. Some of you guys may have seen that. It's about a week and a half ago, maybe even 2 weeks ago. That contest is wrapping up tomorrow morning at 8:30 Mountain Standard Time. If you haven't entered, be sure to enter. If you have entered, double check your entry or check your little feed, you know, like the little notification bell on one of these sides, and see if you have something from me. I went through, I found a bunch of entries that weren't, they didn't work with the software. The software has to have it exact, meaning that it's got to be verbatim. I would recommend copying and pasting, but anyway, I think I found like 15 or 20 of them. I did some practice runs and just kind of checking stuff out, making sure everything's working. And there's a bunch where I'd go down it and I'd be like, oh man, you can tell that the person's entering, but it doesn't match. It doesn't have to be all caps, doesn't have to have the asterisk in it, but it has to say Hi Escort Max 360 in it. And some of them, it looks right, but then the 0 is like a letter O or something. But anyway, I sent out messages to as many people as I could. I want to make sure that everybody that's trying to enter is actually entered. So maybe I'm too nice. But get in there, I'll put a link in the description. Make sure to read the rules. Make sure to copy and paste your entry so that you'll be entered good. I'm really excited to give this away. I wish I could, somebody was saying, you're turning into Oprah Winfrey. I wish. She gives something to everybody that shows up in the audience. I only wish I could do that. I don't have the resources. Hey, check that out. Be sure to enter. Contest closes tomorrow. I'll be announcing the winner on Wednesday. So watch your inbox if you've entered. And you've got an email address associated with your YouTube channel, which you should if you entered. That's how the point of contact's going to be, so I can get your address and get that mailed out to you. And also verify the shipping address is where it's legal. You know, nothing in Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates or Ontario, Canada, that sort of thing. Because they're illegal there. You can't use a radar detector. Mail call. I want to say thanks to everybody that's been sending in license plates. We're getting really close to the end here. So let's go through and see what we've got, shall we? First one's not a license plate. It's actually from New Zealand. New Zealand. I can't say it the way they say it, but I'll try. This is from Jonathan from Sefton, New Zealand. Says, hey Brian, love your vids. Keep up the great work. Justin. You see it says badgertronics.net. That's a good looking sticker. Thank you. Ooh, right in the toolbox. That spans 2 drawers. Not bad. I got a letter from Ryhala. He's from Warrensburg, Missouri. On the back it says Dodge Ram. Oh snap, that's cool. This guy's got packaging down to a science, doesn't he? In the letter it says, Dear Brian, this is Keith from Missouri. I saw one of your vids that saying you were missing a Kansas license plate, so I got you one, thank you. Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. Just kidding, I was at my favorite salvage yard. Some call it a female parking lot. Oh no, and took it off a wreck. Also enclosed is a plate I brought home with me when I was stationed in Japan. Dude, I was way off. That's awesome. I've got a plate from Japan now. Now you're going to have a start in an international collection. I will. I've got to now. I have a 99 Dodge Ram 2-wheel drive with a Cummins. I did a body off restore. Now it looks like new. Thank you for all your repair videos. You helped me build my truck. Now it looks and runs great. If you could, I would like to see some information regarding turbo upgrades, injector upgrades, and VP44 upgrades and care tips. My truck is pretty stock, except I built up my RE47 transmission. I'd like to make my Cummins a touch better than a stock 99. That's a good idea, especially on the transmission stuff. I just put in a new VP44 and 75 horsepower injectors. Now I need more air. I want a turbo, but I have to settle for a boost elbow and a boost fooler for a while until I can afford the 62mm turbo. Keep up the great work. I enjoy your vids. Regards, Keith. It's Raihala, I think. Awesome. Thanks, Keith. Japan and Kansas. That's fantastic. I've never seen this whole cardboard thing done before, or the letter thing, but man, that was effective. It's a resourceful guy. Next up, I got a letter from Dave Nichols. Back it says, a long time coming, right, buddy? You got me to watch and then produce on YouTube. You're awesome. You look inside, you see it's stickers. Now on YouTube, autobravado.com, D.E. Nichols Automotive Repair and Modification. So if you look close, you see that username D.E. Nichols. You'll see his comments on all the best channels on YouTube. He's a pretty good YouTube aficionado. So we're going to go ahead and put these on the lift. I'm going to put one on the toolbox, one on the lift. That's how I roll. And thanks a lot. This one, I believe, is a place. Jeff Lundstrom. He's from Ankeny, Iowa. I don't know if I said that right. Here, and he writes, a buddy of mine really wanted to help you out with your plate collection and contacted me. That's going the extra mile. Luckily, I had a spare Iowa plate, so here you go. His YouTube name is Papa Gleb. He makes lock picking videos if you're interested. P.S. A plate means envious, aren't you? Ha ha ha. That's cool. Be interesting to know what that was on. Awesome. Thanks, Papa Gleb, and thanks, Jeff. Papa Gleb / Jeff. Bam. So we've only got, what, 2 more to go. Ooh, we're getting close. This one's Rob Rotenberry, and he is from Newark, Delaware. The first state of Delaware. Looks good. It's even 2006. This is just barely expired. It says, to Brian's Mobile One, Brian, great job on the videos. I consider myself a pretty good backyard mechanic, but I find myself always learning something new from your videos. So I must admit, most of the B-Fate material is way out of my comfort zone. Mine too, that's why I do it. I admire your courage. If I could ask a favor of you, if you could plug my GoFundMe page. I'm on a quest to reunite with a 1969, like on the movie Better Off Dead, that I built in my 20s. I had to sell it 25 years ago for family reasons. I have opportunity to get it back, but I'm not in a financial situation to realize my dream. If people watch this video would offer $1, it would make me and my 2 girls the happiest people in the world. You guys know what to do. Guy wants to get back with his car. That's where you go if you want to help him out and give him $1. That's cool. I'd love to see my 1972 Dodge again. I hated it when my dad brought it home and said, this is what you're going to drive, but I had so many good memories with it. Delaware. Where's Delaware? The Delaware River runs along New Jersey right here. So Delaware's going to be right here. Rob, right next to Bob. Rotenberry. Do you guys realize what this means? We have 1 more plate to get. The next one is Justin Ayers, and he's from Columbia City, Indiana. Are you serious? You guys are awesome. You see that I'm missing Iowa? And look at this, I got 3 Iowa plates. You guys are the best. Justin Ayers. He says, one day I was watching some DIY car videos and I happened across your channel. I was entertained and have watched many of your videos and plan on seeing many more. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure your videos have helped many. Here are a couple of elusive Iowa plates. You guys nailed it. I know one is a trailer plate and they are just not in the greatest shape, but that's just how elusive they are. Dude, you're on the same wavelength I am. Thanks to everybody that's been sending the plates in. There's only 1 plate left that I don't have, and that is Rhode Island. This is amazing. We got Iowa and Delaware moving from this side. 1. This is this makes me happy, and it's crazy, and it's fun and exciting too. So you got 1 plate to go. It's Rhode Island, 49 present states. The project I'm looking to do with this is going to be in the new building. So now I need to focus in. I didn't think this would happen this fast. You guys just kicked some tail. Holy schmoly. I'm trying to meet with the city planner to get an exception to build the building that I want to build so that I can do the projects and do the stuff that I want to do. When I bought this house, I was under the impression that it had tons of room and that I could use that room for a building, but they want the building to be 75% of the footprint of the house, which doesn't make any sense because my house is tall and it's got a really little footprint compared to what the you know, compared to all the rest of the neighborhood. So basically, if you have this giant footprint of a house and you can have a big building and just cover up your whole lot and not have any green space, it seems kind of ridiculous. I can build a building that's 35 feet tall because my house is tall, but then that just blocks people's view, and it makes the building not as, you know, a tall skyrise with office space and elevators makes a lot of sense. But for doing things that I do with a lot of heavy things like floor jacks and things that have to roll around, I need floor space is what I need. And so that's why I bought one. Anyway, long story short, that's my next big objective, is to meet with the planner. I've been trying to meet with him for the last 2 weeks. Of course, he doesn't want to meet with me because he knows what I want, and he doesn't want to have to do it for me because then he'll have to do it for somebody else. That makes all the sense in the world, but that doesn't make me not want to do things the way that I want to do them, because it makes all the sense in the world to me. What's funny is in Utah, if you want to lift your pickup truck, do a lift kit on it, jack it up, you have a math equation for how wide and how long the wheelbase is, and it's to make sense and fit everybody. I guess that's kind of what I'm looking for, is that, you know, like I've got a decent looking house, but it's tall. It's not really, you know, sprawling, and they base it on the sprawl of the house instead of anything else that makes sense. So anyway, wish me luck, fingers crossed. I want to get going with this, and I just can't thank you guys enough for contributing and making this happen the way that you have. So cheers. Cheers means thanks in Great Britain, and I really like it because I think of people cheering, yay! You know, when I'm thankful, I'm cheering on the inside. That's why I say cheers all the time.
Bonus footage at the end.
Hello. Are you guys okay? Can I help you get unstuck? If you hand me that ski, I can reset the binding for you. May I? Welcome. If you take your poles and put them on the uphill side, that might give you something good to lean on so you can be upright and stomp that binding. Gotta commit, there you go. Gotta stomp it a couple times to make sure it took so it doesn't pop off again. You're in great shape. Yeah, no worries. Whose is this? Oh, I see. He likes to hike, huh? Good for him. Hiking's fun. Thanks.